Writing is a lonely business. But after the auction today, I think if you show a video of this on your web page, a lot more people are going to apply for the competition next year. Because this is fun, this is exciting. Now, the thing about writing and the judging of it is when Edmund first approached me about this, it's a privilege and an honor in a way I realize now, but I was sorely tempted then to turn down the offer. You see, art is long, life is short. Novels tend to take a lot of time to finish. So I prefer to be a judge in poetry competitions, not in fiction competitions. But I'm glad that I did participate in this one. How we did the judging was the three judges read all the novels independent of one another. We did not confer, we did not know the identity, we did not know even the gender of the novelists. And in fact, I speculated that at least two must have been written by men. So that shows you how fallible judges can be. And nothing delights me more than the degree of unanimity we arrived at as judges after we had finished reading, finished writing reports, and compared notes. I'm also amazed and delighted that all the prize winning entries are by young women. It is very important for creativity not to be seen as a male preserve. You know, it's like a colleague older than me once said to a female colleague, "Why do you write poems? Women produce babies, men do art." And she slapped him. So, you see, the point about women writing is they have a whole insight to contribute which men are blind to. And it's particularly nice, therefore, for a male judge to say, I have been enormously impressed by the talent on display here. Let me mention an American writer who once said, when she was persistently asked, what is imaginative writing? What is literature? She said, I have no idea, but maybe it is imaginary gardens with real toads in them. Now reflect a little on this simple idea. Imaginary gardens with toads in them. One of the novels has got a woman who has dropped out of a standard kind of life and lives under a cardboard house, which in rainy Singapore doesn't last long. Then she starts sleeping under bridges. I don't know if any of you have tried this, but what you have here is an imagination that takes a real toad of a problem, a particularly big toad in Singapore. Success, work, reputation, good looks, fine clothes, all that wonderful thing that the video captured. Here is a woman who's willing to opt out. Here is a man, not even a very nice fellow, who is willing to understand or try to understand what's going on. Consider another novel. Suddenly, the electricity goes in Singapore. The backbone of life is taken out. What feral things will come out? So here is another wonderful experiment in speculating. Take the third, well, there's no particular ranking here, I'm just doing it randomly. A third novel where you have a sister jealous of a brother who's wonderful in everything that she wishes she were as good at. But then something else crops up. The parents don't understand the children, particularly the gender inclinations, the sexual preferences of the young man. Now, how many of you, at whatever age you are at, I know about that. How I hated while I loved my parents for completely not understanding where I came from. So you see, each novel has a fantasy element in it, which I'm really delighted by, because although I love Singapore literature, I find its fiction very boring often. And it's boring because it's realist. It's just telling you, and that is important in some ways, but not as exciting as when an author invites you to take a journey at a kind of oblique angle to life. Famously once, E.M. Forster described a Greek writer called Cavafy as a gentleman in a straw hat at a slight angle to the universe. Now, I've never worked out whether he's at an angle to the universe or the straw hat. The moral, though, is here are four young women who have each written a novel which is at a slight angle to the universe. And I think it is a very good corrective to our vision to adopt that tilt while we read their fiction. So you see, alas, a competition has to have a winner. But believe me, it is like comparing oranges and apples. Each is unique in a way, and the fact that all four have made it to this shortlist is more important than who's the winner. And if I may say so, without getting Edmund alarmed, the real winner of the competition is Epigram Books. Because in a country and an island nation like Singapore, where poetry has often been seen as elitist, also as something you can do in your spare time because you're busy making a career and making money and buying your condo or your HDB or whatever, writing novels is so much more difficult. Poetry, you don't need to know anything about the world. You just have to look at yourself and be a little narcissist. I'm being perhaps a little unkind to poets, and Robert Yeoh is one of the few who has done all the genres. But young poets often know nothing but have a great interest in themselves. Writing novels needs to have a knowledge of other people. You have to step outside of being you, and I was amazed that women writers can imagine men so plausibly, whereas we men fail miserably to understand women. So every one of the women who have been shortlisted is a winner today, and Epigram Books is a winner, and that amazing idea within 4 years, 5 years of running this competition locally to go international in the region is amazing. Because Malaysia is not just about writing in Malay. Indonesia is not just about writing in Bahasa. And for Singapore to take the lead and Epigram Books to take the lead, the government ought to take notice. Because I'll end with a sharp remark perhaps, but oblique. Dickens, if you ever read a novel called Our Mutual Friend, there describes what I'm going to summarize. When Mr. and Mrs. Vinaya had a little money, they decided to acquire a little polish. Unfortunately, some of the support for the arts in Singapore is like Mr. and Mrs. Vinaya. And I think Epigram Books is trying to change that. So all of you who participate here, all of you who will compete, or those not here who will compete next year, 2 cheers to Epigram Books. Thank you.